Captain Harrison stood as humanity's symbol, firm, unyielding, his reputation as a diplomat unmatched. For Earth, he was a bridge to peace, a warrior in the face of cosmic uncertainty. But for the Galactic Empire, his defiance was an insult. Humanity's independence was intolerable, a threat to their iron-fisted control over countless worlds. The Empire didn't negotiate. They commanded, they conquered, and they expected submission without question. Harrison's resistance was the one act they would never forgive. In a tense hall, broadcasted across both worlds, Harrison faced the Empire's ambassadors. These towering figures, clad in dark robes, their faces obscured, spoke with voices cold and sharp, demanding absolute surrender. They declared Earth's position was laughably weak, a fledgling race, far beneath the Empire's mighty shadow. "Swear your allegiance!" they thundered, their voices echoing across the hall. Harrison stood, resolute, unshaken, his refusal a clear testament to humanity's pride. The ambassadors' eyes flashed with rage, their scorn palpable. For them, Harrison's response was not defiance but mockery. They warned him once more, their words laced with menace. Still, he held his ground, delivering a calm yet firm rebuttal, reminding the Empire that Earth was no one's vassal. But the Empire had no tolerance for such insolence. A single nod from the ambassador, and in a swift, brutal moment, Harrison was struck down, his lifeless form hitting the ground in full view of the galaxy. Silence hung in the room. The live transmission of Harrison's execution sent shockwaves across Earth. The image was indelible, their diplomat, their defender, reduced to nothing in an instant. But more than horror, it was fury that spread. Humanity watched, stunned, as the news replayed, anger building with each passing second. The message was clear: the Empire's power was absolute, their rule unchallenged, and any who resisted would face annihilation. As the footage continued, millions took to the streets, grief blending with rage. Harrison's image was everywhere: billboards, screens, posters, each symbolizing Earth's loss and humanity's collective anger. In towns and cities worldwide, crowds gathered, carrying banners, chanting for justice, demanding action. They wanted the Empire to know that humanity would not sit in silence, that their wrath would be felt, their strength tested. The world, once divided by borders and politics, united under a single cause: revenge. In response, the Council of Nations convened an emergency meeting. Every leader, every representative sat, their faces set, their silence bearing the weight of Earth's anger. No words were needed, the shared fury was evident. They debated their options, balancing caution with the overwhelming call for action. No one could ignore the people's voice. They remembered what Captain Harrison had stood for, and they understood that his death could not go unavenged. Some warned against immediate retaliation, cautious of the Empire's power. They pointed out the risks, the very real possibility that Earth would be obliterated if they miscalculated. But others argued that this was a fight they couldn't avoid. The Empire had crossed a line, disrespecting Earth's sovereignty, and taking the life of one of their own in a blatant show of power. Retreat, they argued, was no longer an option. At that moment, a decision was made. It was more than a declaration of war. It was a vow, a promise to Captain Harrison, to every citizen of Earth, that humanity would not kneel. They would fight, no matter the odds. The declaration was swift, and in minutes, humanity's intention was broadcast across the stars. They would bring war to the Empire, and they would make them pay for every drop of blood they had spilled. The Council of Nations had issued the order. Humanity was going to war. For the first time in history, Earth's fragmented governments set aside differences, each leader fully aware that their planet's survival depended on unity. Engineers, scientists, military strategists, and civilians all joined in a single-minded determination to prepare for what would be humanity's most formidable battle. Across continents, industries shifted overnight to a war footing. Factories that once produced everyday goods now manufactured weaponry, armor, and advanced technology at unprecedented speed. The race to build Earth's defenses was on, and no resource was spared. In the deepest underground bunkers and highest orbital stations, Earth's military leaders coordinated. They knew the Empire's advantage lay in sheer numbers and centuries of combat experience. But humanity possessed something the Empire had long forgotten: a fierce, relentless drive to survive and adapt. They wouldn't simply fight. They would fight smarter, using every ounce of ingenuity to turn their disadvantages into strengths. Humanity's scientists, renowned for pushing boundaries, were given the resources and freedom to develop unconventional, cutting-edge weaponry. In labs once devoted to civilian research, prototypes of EMP-based weaponry, drones capable of high-speed evasive maneuvers, and energy shields were tested and deployed, each device designed to offset the Empire's technological dominance. The pace was relentless. In every city, volunteers signed up in droves, swelling the ranks of Earth's newly unified military force. Veterans who had fought in the last wars on Earth took up positions as instructors, teaching the recruits not only tactics but the tenacity they need to face an enemy known for its brutality. With them were scientists and strategists, briefing each unit on the new technologies that would be deployed in battle. These weapons were untested, raw in their design, but every soldier knew that humanity's survival depended on the willingness to push these tools to their limits. Space fleets were assembled in every available shipyard. Some were newly constructed vessels, bristling with the latest in Earth's defensive tech, while others were hastily retrofitted commercial vessels, armed with makeshift weaponry to bolster the ranks. Each ship, regardless of its origin, was marked with the same unifying emblem, a stark reminder of the resolve driving this monumental effort. Humanity's fleet, though smaller than the Empire's, was symbolic of their unwavering determination. Every commander, every crew member understood their role: to strike swiftly and decisively, using precision to cut through the Empire's vast but rigid formations. In military headquarters around the globe, generals and admirals gathered to discuss strategy. The plan was bold, bordering on reckless, yet the only option they had. Instead of waiting to be overwhelmed by the Empire's full might, they would strike first. The Empire's strength lay in its centralized command and expansive supply lines. If humanity could disrupt the flow of resources and target strategic points, they might cripple the Empire's ability to respond effectively. This strategy would rely on speed, coordination, and a willingness to adapt to changing battle conditions in real time. It was a gamble, but every leader knew that traditional warfare against an empire of such scale would be futile. Meanwhile, in secretive installations around Earth, specialists worked tirelessly on intelligence gathering. Any scrap of information on the Empire's weaknesses, logistical patterns, and structural vulnerabilities was analyzed and catalogued. Humanity's limited experience with interstellar warfare meant that they would need every advantage they could get, and the intelligence teams left no stone unturned. From intercepted transmissions to faint energy signatures, they gathered clues to piece together a strategic picture of the Empire's operations. Among the most critical developments was the finalization of Earth's command structure, a streamlined network that allowed for rapid decision-making and communication across the fleet. In battle, every second would count, and this network, backed by AI systems, ensured that Earth's forces could react to threats and opportunities faster than the Empire expected. The AI systems, developed with unprecedented speed, were tasked with analyzing combat data in real time, relaying insights to commanders, and suggesting tactical adjustments on the fly. For humanity, this was more than a fight for territory. It was a fight for identity, a defiant stand against a power that saw them as expendable. Every preparation, every weapon forged, every drill practice reinforced their commitment to survival. Families watched their loved ones leave for the front lines, sending them off with a mix of fear and pride. Messages of support, hope, and solidarity spread across the planet, unifying even those who had once been divided by deep-seated conflicts. In this moment, the people of Earth were bound together by a shared purpose, an unbreakable spirit that the Empire could not fathom. As humanity's fleets mobilized, a final message was transmitted across Earth's network, a vow to Captain Harrison, a pledge to each other, a reminder of why they were fighting. The recording played in barracks, control rooms, and civilian centers, fueling the resolve of every man and woman involved. This was more than revenge. It was a battle for Earth's future, a refusal to accept a fate dictated by anyone but themselves. They would not be cowed, and they would not surrender. And so, with their preparations complete, Earth's forces took to their stations. Every officer, every soldier, every scientist knew the risks, but they also knew that this was the only path forward. Earth's fleets, brimming with determination and newly developed weaponry, surged into the dark expanse of space. They were on a mission to make the first move, to strike with a swiftness and ferocity that the Galactic Empire could not anticipate. Human strategists had meticulously planned every detail, every angle of attack, knowing that their survival hinged on the element of surprise. A coordinated series of jumps brought the fleets within striking range of the Empire's key outpost, a formidable installation that anchored the Empire's presence in this sector. Destroying it would send a message, one that humanity would not bow down. The initial assault was lightning fast. Human vessels, outfitted with specialized cloaking and electromagnetic pulse technology, descended on the outpost with silent precision. The Empire's defenses, accustomed to fending off predictable and scattered opposition, were unprepared for such calculated tactics. Earth's forces used their drones and pulse weapons to disable the outpost's shields and radar, effectively blinding the enemy and leaving them vulnerable to the next wave of attacks. Ships targeted structural weak points with pinpoint accuracy, aiming to cripple the outpost before the Empire could scramble reinforcements. The skirmish escalated as Empire forces responded, but they quickly found themselves overwhelmed by the unconventional warfare tactics that humanity deployed. Earth's pilots, trained to think on their feet, maneuvered through space with a fluidity that Empire commanders had not anticipated. They adapted with ease, switching formations and tactics mid-battle to exploit every opportunity. The Empire's rigid military structure, accustomed to hierarchy and order, struggled to counter Earth's adaptability and precision. As explosions rocked the outposts, Earth's forces began to gain the upper hand, carving through the defenses with relentless resolve. Empire reinforcements arrived, but by then, Earth's forces had dismantled much of the outpost's defensive grid. The human fleet, though outnumbered, used their tech advantage and precise coordination to inflict maximum damage with minimal losses. A strategic combination of hit-and-run tactics and focused strikes against critical targets kept the Empire's reinforcements at bay, forcing them into disarray. Despite their advanced weaponry and larger numbers, Empire forces found themselves struggling against an enemy whose resolve matched its resourcefulness. The tide of the battle began to shift decisively in humanity's favor. As the outpost's structural integrity collapsed, Earth's fleet broadcasted a defiant message across all Empire channels, a recording of Captain Harrison's execution, followed by a simple statement. "Humanity does not forget. We do not forgive." The transmission echoed across the Empire's network, reaching not only the Empire's high command but also its citizens. It was a declaration of war, a refusal to submit to oppression, and a promise that humanity would fight with everything it had. The Empire's command structure was rocked by the attack. News of the outpost's destruction spread rapidly, and the footage of Captain Harrison's death, followed by Earth's message, sparked outrage within the Empire's ruling class. They had underestimated Earth's resolve, dismissing them as a primitive species incapable of posing any real threat. But now, confronted with the devastating loss of one of their key installations, they were forced to reconsider. Earth was no longer a backwater planet on the fringe of their empire. It was an adversary, one that demanded their attention. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated, but the cost was not forgotten. Every soldier and commander knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire would retaliate, and humanity would face even greater challenges. But the message they had sent was clear: they were willing to risk everything for their freedom. The sight of the Empire's outpost in flames, a symbol of their oppressive rule, was burned into the memory of every person on Earth. They understood that this battle was a statement of their unyielding spirit, their unwillingness to live under the thumb of any force that sought to control them. As Earth's fleet regrouped and began preparing for the next phase of the war, humanity's leaders took stock of what had been achieved. This victory had not come easily, and every life lost in the battle was honored. The courage and sacrifices of those who had fought were a testament to humanity's strength, a reminder that their greatest weapon was their will to survive. The mission had been a success, but they knew the path ahead would be fraught with even greater dangers. The Empire, humiliated and wounded, was unlikely to let this defeat go unanswered. Earth's leaders anticipated an overwhelming counterstrike, an attempt by the Empire to reassert their dominance and make an example out of humanity. But they had no intention of waiting passively. Already, preparations were underway for the next engagement. Earth scientists and engineers were working around the clock, developing even more advanced weapons and refining their tactics. They understood that in this war, adaptability and resilience would be their greatest assets. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's forces took time to analyze every detail, every maneuver that had led to their victory. They knew that each success would bring them closer to understanding their enemy, to discovering the Empire's weaknesses, and to devising new ways to strike. As Earth's fleet repaired and rearmed, the determination within each soldier and commander only grew stronger. They had achieved something extraordinary, something the Empire had thought impossible. And now, there was no turning back. The message from the battle was clear, both to Earth and to the Empire. Humanity was here to stay, and they would not bow down. The destruction of the outpost was just the beginning, the first spark in a conflict that would test the resolve of both sides. The Empire's response was swift. Incensed by the loss of their outpost and the defiance shown by Earth, the Empire mobilized its fleets in a show of force unlike any humanity had ever witnessed. Massive warships, carrying enough firepower to level entire planets, began their journey to the solar system. The Empire's commanders saw this as a lesson in dominance, a chance to stamp out Earth's rebellion and erase any memory of their defiance. Earth would be punished, not only for the outpost attack but as a warning to any other species that might dream of resistance. On Earth, preparations intensified. Intelligence had detected the Empire's incoming forces, and humanity understood the scale of the threat. This was no mere skirmish. It was an invasion on a scale they hadn't imagined. But rather than succumbing to fear, humanity rallied with a fierce resolve. Every individual, from soldiers to civilians, recognized that this battle would decide their fate. They could surrender and be enslaved, or they could fight and risk annihilation. Unanimously, they chose to fight. As the Empire's fleets crossed into human territory, Earth's forces were ready. New defensive platforms had been constructed along strategic points, each equipped with weapons designed specifically to counter the Empire's ships. Humanity's fleets, though far outnumbered, were strategically positioned, with each vessel assigned to targeted formations that maximized their limited resources. Earth's commanders understood that they couldn't win by brute force. Instead, they would rely on precision strikes, coordinated maneuvers, and the unpredictability that had become their greatest advantage. When the Empire's warships entered Earth's space, the conflict erupted with unrestrained intensity. The Empire's initial barrage was devastating, their warships releasing volleys of energy that shattered everything in their path. Cities across Earth trembled as defensive shields absorbed massive amounts of force. But Earth's forces responded with equal ferocity. Human ships, swift and agile, struck back with targeted attacks that dismantled the Empire's command ships. The new weapons, tested in simulations and fine-tuned for this moment, cut through the Empire's armor, destabilizing their formations and forcing their fleets into disarray. The Empire's commanders, confident in their overwhelming firepower, had not anticipated the resilience or the tactics of Earth's forces. Human ships maneuvered in small, coordinated groups, exploiting every weakness, every oversight. While the Empire's strategy relied on sheer dominance, Earth's relied on adaptability, and understanding of each weakness in the Empire's rigid formation. One by one, the Empire's warships found themselves isolated, their shields failing, as Earth's forces targeted each vulnerable point with relentless precision. Yet the Empire was vast, and their forces were relentless. Every time Earth's fleets seemed to gain an upper hand, reinforcements arrived, pressing Earth's defenses to their breaking point. Earth's fleets, despite their resilience, began to face the weight of attrition. Losses mounted, but each loss only fueled the determination of those who remained. Every ship that fell was a reminder of the stakes, a call to the rest to fight harder. Earth's forces held their line, knowing that if they gave even an inch, the Empire would break through and lay waste to their world. The battle continued, stretching over hours, then days. Each side suffered, but Earth's forces refused to back down. On the ground, civilians watched, their eyes glued to screens showing the chaotic scenes above. Reports of losses reached them, yet they held firm, united in their belief that survival was within reach if they stood together. Earth's leaders transmitted messages of hope and courage, urging every soldier, every civilian, to remember why they fought. This was not just a battle, it was a stand for freedom, for humanity's right to exist without fear or oppression. In a critical moment, Earth's forces launched a coordinated assault on the Empire's flagship, the massive dreadnought at the heart of their fleet. It was a gambit, one that Earth's commanders knew could turn the tide if successful. With meticulous precision, Earth's ships engaged in synchronized strikes, targeting the dreadnought's critical systems. The Empire's flagship, symbol of their dominance, began to falter, its systems overloaded as Earth's weapons found their mark. The sight of the massive ship breaking apart, piece by piece, rallied Earth's forces, igniting a surge of energy and determination. With their flagship destroyed, the Empire's fleets wavered. Earth's forces pressed their advantage, driving back the remaining ships with unrelenting resolve. The Empire's commanders, now fully aware of humanity's resilience, ordered a retreat, their fleets pulling back from Earth's space. Earth had won the battle, but at a great cost. Ships lay scattered across the void, reminders of the sacrifice and courage that had carried them to victory. As the last of the Empire's ships disappeared from view, Earth's forces took stock of their triumph. They had achieved the impossible, turning back an enemy that had considered them insignificant. But this victory was not without loss. Thousands had perished, their lives given in defense of their world. Yet, in the aftermath, as humanity began to mourn its fallen heroes, there was a newfound pride, a realization that they had earned a place in the galaxy. Word of Earth's victory spread rapidly, reaching distant corners of the galaxy. Species under the Empire's rule took notice, inspired by humanity's defiance. The Empire, once thought invincible, had been brought to its knees by a world it had dismissed as insignificant. Humanity's strength, its resilience, became a beacon for those who sought freedom from oppression. For humanity, this was a defining moment. They had not only defended their world but had sent a message that they would not be conquered. The Empire's defeat marked the beginning of a new era for Earth, one where they would no longer be mere observers in the galaxy. Humanity had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, a species that would fight with every last breath for their right to exist. And as Earth's leaders addressed their people, honoring the fallen and celebrating the victory, one message resonated above all: humanity would not forget. The war was not over, but the tides had shifted. They had faced the might of the Empire, and they had endured. For the first time in history, Earth looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope and determination, knowing that they had earned their place in the vastness of the galaxy. The Empire's retreat left Earth scarred but victorious, each battle-scarred ship and smoldering outpost a testament to humanity's resilience. News of the Empire's defeat reached every corner of the galaxy, spreading faster than the Empire could suppress it. Species once cowed by the Empire's iron grip took notice, inspired by the defiance of a race they had barely known. The spark ignited by humanity's victory began to flicker across distant worlds, signaling a shift in the galactic order. For those under the Empire's control, this was more than a single victory. It was hope, a glimmer that the Empire's power was not as unassailable as they'd once believed. Back on Earth, the celebration was tempered by remembrance. Every city, every family, carried the weight of those lost in the battle, and humanity honored them with solemnity. Fallen heroes became symbols of Earth's newfound unity, their stories immortalized as a reminder of the sacrifices made. The people of Earth had stood together, united not by fear, but by an unyielding will to preserve their freedom and identity. Leaders who once disagreed on the simplest issues now found themselves bound by a singular purpose: to protect and preserve this unity at all costs. As Earth's engineers and scientists examined the wreckage of Empire's ships, they saw opportunity within destruction. Salvage technology offered insights into the Empire's weapons, propulsion, and communication systems, revealing both strengths and critical vulnerabilities. What was once a mystery was now a puzzle waiting to be solved. Humanity's brightest minds set to work, understanding that every technological edge they could gain would be crucial in the conflict to come. They knew that the Empire, humiliated and furious, would not leave Earth in peace. Their return was inevitable, and humanity's only choice was to be ready. Military leaders, veterans, and new recruits threw themselves into preparation, turning their focus from victory to survival. Training became relentless, pushing Earth's forces to adapt to new strategies, to fight more efficiently and decisively. Humanity had proven its strength in a single battle, but sustaining it would require an evolution in tactics and technology. Earth's commanders no longer saw themselves as defenders of a single planet. They were preparing for a sustained war across the stars. This was no longer about survival. It was about securing humanity's place in the galaxy. In the political chambers of the Empire, shock had given way to anger. The Empire's ruling council, blindsided by Earth's victory, scrambled to maintain control. They launched a propaganda campaign, labeling humanity as a reckless, dangerous force that threatened galactic stability. Their goal was simple: to sway public opinion, to present Earth not as a beacon of hope, but as a disruptive threat that needed to be contained. The Empire's vast media networks spread this message, sowing fear and uncertainty, warning of the human menace. Yet, despite their efforts, whispers of Earth's resilience continued to spread, challenging the Empire's narrative. Among the Empire's citizens, unrest simmered. Tales of Earth's defiance reached even the most distant worlds, shared in hushed tones by those who had lived under the Empire's rule for generations. Some dismissed these stories as propaganda, while others found inspiration in humanity's refusal to submit. Across the galaxy, the seeds of rebellion began to sprout. Small factions and underground movements took shape, each one a potential ally for humanity. The Empire had ruled with fear for centuries, but Earth's victory reminded its citizens of something the Empire had tried to erase: hope. For Earth, this shift was both an opportunity and a challenge. As alliances began to form in secret, Earth's leaders navigated the complex web of galactic politics, aware that any misstep could turn potential allies into enemies. Diplomats and strategists reached out to sympathetic factions, seeking to build a coalition that could stand against the Empire's dominance. Humanity's leaders understood that survival would require allies, and that this battle could not be won alone. Earth was no longer isolated. It was now part of a larger struggle, a conflict that would determine the future of the galaxy. The war was far from over, and Earth's leaders prepared for a prolonged struggle. They expanded their alliances, strengthened their fleets, and trained their forces with an intensity born of necessity. Each battle ahead would be a test, not only of their military strength but of their ability to inspire, to unify, and to adapt. Earth was evolving, becoming a force that could not only defend itself but also offer hope to others. They were no longer merely fighting for their survival. They were fighting to reshape the galaxy itself. And so, as Earth stood on the edge of a new era, the message was clear. Humanity had proven that they would not be conquered, that they would stand against any force that sought to strip them of their freedom. The Empire's attempt to break them had only made them stronger, binding them together in a way that no force could undo. Earth was ready, not just to defend its home, but to take its place among the stars, a force of resilience, strength, and unwavering hope.